but I wanted to just briefly talk about, just briefly, I promise, just mention about this whole thing about, this week we were really talking about this whole push that they're doing with LGBT and all that stuff, right? And then, if you listen to us in past, I talked about how that's really a reflection of what they really believe and how they believe that man was built as both male and female within. That's what they believe. But they also believe that God or the Most High is that. Now, so which leads us to this question. Is the Most High both male and female? Now, that's a really interesting question. It's a really interesting question because, see, now we have to speak off of revelation that he gives to us directly. I can't point to any book now. You know what I'm saying? Chapter and verse. I can't give you one. What I can do is talk about what I see in nature. You know what I mean? So it's really kind of a new space. You know what I mean? But to this question, as far as is he male and female, I believe that he, just like a creator, any creator, you're going to create your creation is going to be a reflection of who you are. Okay. I believe that. So for example, if I make furniture, for example, that's something that was in me, the idea, the picture, how it's supposed to look and how tall and how wide or whatever. That was first, it started off here in my mind. And then from there, it came out and I manifested it or whatever, and then made it, right? Same thing with someone who makes cars or whatever. It starts off here, Now, our creator, the Most High, he had to, when it comes to creating man, when he created man, of course, we refer to him as he. I still do. I don't think that's going to change for me, okay? When he created man, it's easy for us to visualize and say, okay, he's a man, so he created man, another man. So it was easy for him to see that. But how can he then create a woman if he's just a man? You know what I'm saying? How can that happen? If he's just a man, how can I create a woman? That's like the question, how does Dwayne describe what it's like to be a woman? I can't describe that. I could describe living with one. Or two of them. You know what I'm saying? I can describe it, but I can't. If I was to sit down and let's say if I had a computer that said, it was an AI computer that said, hey, you can create anything you want. All you got to do is type it in and we just need all your input for it to be accurate. I could sit down right now and I could say, okay, I want a woman that does this. Look, I better be describing my wife. Better not be describing nobody else. But anyway, but I could describe a woman, right? And, so, this, that, whatever, motion, that, whatever, right? Describe all of that. But the life part, I can never give because it's not in me, what a woman really is on the inside. I could never give that. And so, so therefore, it has to be within the mind of the creator, right? Now, in this great debate that's going on, as far as is he, part man and part woman, because that's how people think. What I propose to you is this, and I am answering the question. All of creation came from him. So if you're going to limit him to just, well, he's part man and part woman, that's not all of creation. He created trees. So you're going to say he's part tree? Or you're going to say he's part donkey? You're going to say he's part sky and part moon and stars? You're going to say he's part all of that too? No, they don't do that. See, what these devils do is that they take it, they cut things out and they narrow things down to something that they can control. And that is their narrative. Do you understand what I'm saying? And their narrative, these people see things only in the arena of sexual perversion. That's how they see things. That's how they see the world, is only through sexual perversion. So when they think of God or our creator, they can only see him as, well, he's half man and half woman. No, he's more than that. He's greater than that. He had to be greater than that. Because if you're just going to limit him to half man and half woman, okay, all right, there's man, that accounts for man and woman. But what about all the other stuff that he created? He's half ocean too. You know what I'm saying? He's half insect. You know what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? So, but when you listen to these people, they, for their little dinky circles, their talk circles, they only want to limit him to just that. He's bisexual, because that's all your dirty mind can think of. What I propose is that I think he's greater than that. He's greater. When I say he's greater, I'm going to say this. I believe he's greater than gender. Okay. Now, what does that mean? Now, in the context of what I just said to you, that doesn't fall in line with these devils are putting out here. Because you got these trannies out here that are saying, well, you know, I'm not, you can't define me. You can't define me. I'm sometimes I'm like a man and sometimes I feel like a woman. And, you know, so I'm gender fluid or whatever. He ain't no gender fluid, because he's beyond that. Everything that we see in creation had to first come out of him. So if you're going to limit him to half man and half woman, you're lying. You're eliminating all the rest of creation. Because if you're just going to say, if you're going to say that, well, you know, he's half this and that, what about, like I said again, you're going to have to give account for everything else that he created. Remember, artwork is an extension. It comes out of the artist. It comes out of him. You understand what I'm saying? So he could not think of, so in order for him to create a woman, that had to be in him. In order for him to create a man, that had to be in him. In order for him to create giraffes and hyenas and lions and bears and fish and all of that had to be in him. All of it had to be in him. But I'm just saying, I know I'm being repetitive here, but these devils out here, they want to portray him as being, well, he's got one breast and the other, he got a male breast or whatever. No, that's what you serve. That's what you worship. And as we have been going through all of these weeks and looking at what these people believe, I'm talking about within Judaism, that's what y'all believe. Y'all believe that stuff, and that's what y'all teach, and that's what you put in your book. You put that in there. But what I want to tell you is this, because I'm going to show you a map in a moment, because we got to make sure. I'll put the map up right now. This is very short. Almost finished here. And then, like I said again, then we'll get to the video, because this is very important here. You see that circle right there? That is where the source of our spirituality as we know it today. All of this that you see within that circle right there, that's everything we know about the spiritual realm, the spiritual world, creation. It all originated from there. Look at how much has been eliminated in this, just in here. And again, this is the map we know about. Okay. This is just a map we know about. Okay. You know, but everything we know about him, or what they tell us about him, about creation, everything, how we reason, how we pray, how we interact with nature, how we interact with each other. It all came from this right here that you see on your screen. Now, when you go to, and I touched on this in the broadcast I just did, when you start looking at African spirituality. Now, again, like I told you, you remember a while back, you're going to stretch my hand, pull my hand. Yeah, she pulled. I need to pull my hand because it was a while back. You remember I said, we're going to talk about African spirituality, but we're going to take this very slow. We're going to be very slow with it. We're going to take our time with it because there are some things in there that are good. We need, it's good and we can kind of build on it and learn from it. But there's some other things in there that got us in a lot of trouble. So we got to be very, very, very careful in how we approach this. But we don't throw it all out. You don't want to do that. That's for sure. So with that being said, I want you to think like this for me for a second. If they're telling us that mankind began right on, well, you don't see, okay, right here. You see where my mouse is right there? If mankind began in this central and southern part of Africa, don't you think it would be logical to go and therefore find out what was their spirituality? Doesn't that make sense? Why would I look to the spirituality that's in this circle? If mankind began here, you always go to the root. Remember I said, if you want to understand a thing, you got to go to the source. You got to go to the root, right?
What if a man decides that his gender identity is woman?
A woman has its own duty, and a man has its own duty, and a lady cannot do the duty of a man, and a man cannot do a duty of a woman.
Can a man become a woman?
No.
No?
No.
What about a transgender? Transgender?
No.
No?
It look like if you want to become a lady but you're a man, you have something wrong in your mind. Something wrong in your family, something wrong in you.
What about if someone was non-binary?
Come again?
Non-binary? Do you know, like someone is
you're not a woman, you're not a man.
Yeah, someone is neither. There's something else. Is that?
He's saying we have never seen things like those. For a man, he has a penis. For a woman, he has a vagina. So we know this is a lady, this is a man.
What if it's a woman with a penis?
Both.
Is that? People are laughing. Is that a dumb question?
So wouldn't it make sense to start the adventure here? And then from there, and that's for all peoples. Well, I ain't gonna say all peoples. I take that back. Because some of these people out here, I don't know what they're of. I'm serious. I don't know. Anyway, but for us, let's speak for us here, okay, in the house. When you look at the spirituality, it makes sense to start from there. Now, some of it is going to be kind of weird and, I don't want to do. Okay, good. That's why we're going to take our time with it. But so here's the thing. When you go to, there's one thing I could say right off the cuff when it comes to spirituality in that part of the world. Number one, when it comes to the whole transgender and all that stuff, it ain't even in their language. Literally, there is no transgender nothing in their language. It doesn't exist. It only exists now because the white man came and put it in there. When you look at European spirituality, what you're looking at right now is these are European paintings or depictions of angels. Now, I want you to understand something. This is what was introduced to us in Africa. Okay? In Africa. And this angel, looks like this angel doing a devil. I don't know what they're doing. Anyway. Looking dusty and special in the eyes. Anyway, So when you look at these angels here, many of you have grown up and seen these like in shows or paintings or whatever, right? And if you ever notice that these angels always look like they can go either way. Like it's always been like that. I'll be looking at these angels and I'm like, okay, are these women or are these men or what? Like, I can't tell. Like, for example, the one on the bottom right, that's supposed to be the angel Michael. And I'm like, nah, that's the angel Michelle. There ain't no Michael. That's Michelle right there. Yeah, that's supposed to be the angel Michael. Michael the archangel. I did a search. I said, pull me up Michael the archangel. And they gave me that. That's what came up. And so so when you look at their depiction of angels, it's always this figure that look like they can go either way. But we're supposed to and if you go to some of these European countries, like in those, or in some of these old churches, you ain't even got to go to Europe. You can be over here in the United States and go in some of these old churches, and they got these angels looking all like they can go either way. And we supposed to be looking up there, it just look all holy and righteous. Nah, that thing look like he tranny or it tranny. I don't know what it is. I don't. Okay, so this is Greek. And then you got to look at this. Now, we could talk about this. Why is it that their depiction, like they always had this infatuation with babies, naked babies? Have you ever noticed that with cherubim? These are supposed to be the cherubim, the little babies, little baby angels. And they just love showing these naked babies with just nothing on, just butt naked with wings. That's it. And they never have black baby angels. You ever notice that? And I'm glad, you know what? I'm glad they don't. Leave us out of your equation. Leave us completely out of it. But they always have these naked angels, baby angels, even the baby angels, they have them just because that's what they're into. See, we look at it as, that's just how they depict or whatever. I'm trying to get you somewhere, family. I'm trying to drive something home to you. They've been telling us what they're about. These folks been telling us what they're about. Now, look at Roman culture. Hold on. Okay, look at Roman culture. Now, that's David. That's David, right? That's supposed to be David in the Bible. He butt naked. I never read any depiction of David running around butt naked. Ever. I don't have that version of the Bible. But this is a sculpture. And then, I had to cut it off. I wasn't going to show all that. I ain't trying to get your sisters all, and, where we're going to have to pray for y'all at the end. But anyway, but yeah, I probably should have cut off more. But anyway, they got David butt naked. And then when you start looking at their other stuff too, then sometimes they'll have animals running around butt naked. And in some cases, they're having intercourse with, they're half animal and half human, and they'll have intercourse with other humans. All right. And then how about the Olympics? You know how they do the Olympics? Now think about it. Now the Olympics, when they were doing the Olympics back in the day, the Olympics, everybody was walking around butt naked. I mean, think about this for a second. Why would you have folks doing all kinds of sports and they ain't got no clothes on? Other than the fact that you just get a turn on that. Think about that for a second. And see what they taught us in school. I know they try to teach me this in school. Well, it's because they just saw the body as just a wonderful, beautiful piece of artwork. And that's why they always portrayed people as butt naked. Well, they say, in the nudes. No, y'all just got turned on. Y'all just a bunch of freaks. That's what that's about. Y'all just a bunch of 100% freaks. So let's just tell the whole truth on that. Ain't nothing about the, and they sometimes they try to do all the, the angles and all that, Leonardo, whatever his name, Da Vinci, when he was putting the bodies, if you look at the mathematical equation and then when he got to this and all that, they trying to get you all like, like you deep. Nah, you nasty, bruh. You nasty. Okay, so that's what all that was about. And so anyway, then you get into Roman culture, it was the same stuff. The same stuff. Always. Now, you look at this joint closely, it look like he got a beard. Oh, yeah, they get down like this. I mean, this ain't, all this stuff we're seeing today ain't new. And then I ain't gonna get too much. I had to cut off some of this stuff, y'all. But basically, yeah. They let's just say they had a very vivid imagination when it came to, sex and all that kind of stuff. I mean, they were on some stuff, man, back then, for real. I mean, they would have some stuff. I'm just looking at it like, what y'all doing? Okay, now, so we looked at Greek culture, right? And I just took you and showed you Roman culture, right? I hope you're tracking with me. I really do. All right. Now we're going to go to right here. Not there. Here. What the Torah teaches us about gender fluidity and transgender justice. Okay, now some of this that's mentioned in here, I've actually talked about. Now, again, as I've said before, and I will continue to say it, it's a couple things. One, like it or not, these are the people that were behind, that handed your ancestors what you call today the Bible. All right, but let's take a look here. All right, let's read it. The pass is, this post is adapted from Rabbi Meyer's Rosh Hashanah, 5709 morning sermon. Okay, so let's go read this a little bit here. All right. For our Israelite ancestors, the most important festival of the year was Sukkot, and the most widely practiced ritual was the bringing of the first fruits to the temple in Jerusalem. The Talmud recalls for us this pageantry, the colorful parades, the music, and the feasting that lasted for 8 straight days and nights. An entire tractate of Talmud, in fact, is devoted to the laws and rituals of bringing the first fruits, detailing the ornamentation of the offerings and how the gifts would be offered by the men and women. During the course of this discussion, the text poses a question that many today might find quite stunning. While reviewing the differing obligations of men and women when it comes to the offering, the first fruits of Shavuot, the rabbis pondered and the circumstances for those who fall outside the normative identities of male and female. Here's how the discussion begins. An androgynous who presents both male and female physical traits is in some ways like men and in some ways like women. In some ways, they are like both men and women. In other ways, neither man or women. All right. So we're going to jump right here to this right here. From the beginning of our Torah, imaginings of the creation of humankind, gender diversity was part of the divine plan. Reread of the creation of humanity in the very first chapters of Genesis, that when God created the first human being, God said, let us make Adam in our image, after our likeness. Then we taught that God created Adam in his image. In the image of God, he created him. Both male and female, God created them. Now, what does this mean? Now, all of these years, now I've been saying this for I've been repeating this a whole lot here as of late, because I want to make sure people hear it and understand this. And that is, when we read Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 and 27, all up to this point, we were reading it basically like, okay, so that was basically a precursor to what he was going to do in chapter 2, right? Because in chapter 2, when we read in chapter 2, it talks about how when he, he said, God says it's not good for man to be alone. So he basically put him to sleep and then took one of his ribs, and out of the rib he brought out a woman, right? He created a woman. That's what the text says. But so when we would read this passage here that's on your screen right now, we would read it in such a way where we thought it was just a precursor to what was going to happen in chapter 2. But according to them, again, when I say them, you may not agree with it. I certainly don't agree with it. I'm going to tell you that right out the top. But because these people are the ones that put together that book that you call the Bible, because again, you have no record in your household of your grandma, your great grandpa, your great 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 grandpa. You ain't got no record of any of that. What we do have record of is that once we got off that slave ship and they beat the hell out of us and raped us and did all that, then they said, we're going to give you the Bible. That's what we have record of. We didn't come over here with that. And so what they're saying in their extra books is that what this verse is saying is that when the Most High, when he created Adam, what they're saying is what that really means is that inside of Adam, one singular man, he put both a feminine and a masculine inside and packaged them inside of one person. This is out of Talmudic teachings and also out Kabbalah teachings, which is based on the Talmud, and it's in the Torah as well. So when you read this now, that's what it's saying. That's really what it's saying there. And in fact, and then more recently, they did an article and it was in the New York Times. I pointed that out, where they talked about how, they just the same point here. All right. So they said, I want to say, it goes on. I'm not going to get into this whole entire article, but what I will tell you is this. What they believe is that there's not just one gender. There's not two. Depending on which rabbi you listen to that has contributed to the Torah, the Talmud, it's anywhere between 7 and 9 different genders. That's that's their belief system. Since you're saying they don't know what they're talking about, but they came out, that's their book. The question is, do you know? I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm saying, do you know? They gave you that book. Do you have any record at all of your grandparents, your great-great-grandparents writing it down and saying, okay, now, daughter, make sure you take care of this book now. Don't let them see it. Don't tell them where you got it from. No. No, they gave it to you. They got record after record after record after record of how they preserved these texts for numbers of years. We got YouTube and TikTok in there. But traditionally, it has never existed. That's number one. Number two, when it comes to the creator, now I'm talking ancient now. I'm talking ancient. I ain't talking about recent stuff. I'm talking going all the way back to these early kingdoms that were in that area. Their general belief when it came to God and all that, they believed in a singular God, which means they were monotheistic. They believed in one God. Do you want to? I want you to lose your point. You going to say something?
I was, but you in the
Stay right there, please. Don't go. I'm sorry. Stay right. I want to hear you. And when they believe in a singular God, one, that's what they believe. And they refer to him as a he, but they also understood too that like I described to you, they also believe that all the creation came out of him. All right. So monotheism, it actually began in that region there. It was only later, and then the white people start coming in. They're like, oh, we're going to take some of that, like they had a buffet somewhere. So I wanted to share that with you because I want you to understand, even though we don't have the whole picture, we at least know now that we got some, okay, we can start off on a good foundation. We can start with a good understanding. So all the years that you and me, when we were praying to God and praising God or praising the creator and praising him and all of that, you were doing the right thing. You just didn't know exactly. It's just all the noise and stuff that was thrown in the mix. So that's why I said you don't throw everything out. There are some foundational things that resonated with you that was, and I'm telling you, you were on a good path. You were on the right path. Now we just got to get rid of all the other stuff. But this is part of your history. This is part of who you are, is that there was, when you go back to those days, these people were monotheistic. They believed in a singular God. Then they also referred to him as a creator. And so, and then you have, are there other deities and stuff that's in the mix? They have that when you start looking into it a little bit deeper. But again, like I said, we just take this stuff slow and we go little by little. Okay. And then we just go where the truth lies. So I want to hear from Nicole.
No, and what you just said in terms of when you said, are there other deities in that sub-Saharan African ancient culture? You're saying, yes, there are, but we're not accepting any of that. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's just get clarity.
Right.
Yeah. And when you said, a woman that's not in you, like you can't, Dwayne can't create that. You're like, I've lived with one. He said, well, two. He doesn't have two wives.
Oh, yeah.
He has a wife and a daughter. Just for clarity's sake, okay? When he said he lived with two women, anyway, because that's out here strong too. But I just wanted to say, we can't allow the purity of the truth to be corrupted by culture, or to get it. Have it twisted by culture. Truth is truth, right? It is. It remains pure. It doesn't change. But we can't allow the truth of what we know about the one who created heavens and earth to be twisted by culture. Even in this time of, discovery, where all of these different things about the Bible are coming to the surface, at least for us. I mean, at least for us, maybe there are a lot of people that did know these things before, but for us, and as we're going on this journey and we're learning these different deceptions, right? We can't allow the truth of what we know to be corrupted and twisted by culture. So what do I mean by that, Dwayne? You were just talking about, people that say, well, is, for lack of a better word, let's just say God for just for clarity, okay, sake, or just for let me just say God for a minute, right? Our creator. Well, is he part woman and part man then? You know how, like you were saying, that question, right, starts to come up. And unfortunately, what people do then is, well, he's both. Well, because, he's both. I mean, he has a feminine side and a masculine side, and he da-da-da-da-da. And before you know it, you're like down this slippery slope, with the slide that was provided to you by the culture. Mm-hmm. And now it just opens the door to a whole bunch of other stuff. Mm-hmm. And allowances that should never be, right? Because people can't put our creator into a box that they can understand.
Yes.
So they defined and they build a box, you know? And what I'm saying is when you were, Dwayne, when you were like, well, you know, man had to have come out of him. Woman came out of him. Even the creation of woman came out of him. The oceans and the rivers and the animals, it all came out of the creator,
yes.
right? It had to be in him for it to come out of him, right? But do we say he's part ocean, part this, part that? The reality is that our creator is life, period.
Yes.
He's life. He is life, L-I-F-E, life. He's the creator. He is life, right? He's the breath of life. And so the animals that are alive and move, again, the oceans, the sunlight, all of these different components that are alive. They are alive because of him. There's nothing that was made any other way but by him, right? And so he's life, and you can't, how are you going to define that?
Right.
How are you going to define that? And so for me, you know, and this is not any different than what my understanding has been. In other words, our creator is the author of life. He's the author of life. And that you cannot put in a box. You cannot put in a box. He's the author of life. It's pure. It's unadulterated. It's clean. It's undefiled. And it's very clear, even though we may not be able to define it in our own parameters, but it's very clear. There's no confusion in him. You know what I mean? There's no breast and penis in one
right.
in one body. Okay, like a Baphomet. There's no confusion. It's just clarity. You know, and I think that's that. Do you know what I'm saying? I think that's that, and I think where we have trouble is when we try to bring the vastness of life into, you know, these parameters that man has constructed. Do you know what I'm saying? You know? So hopefully that was not a word salad, but did you get what I was saying? You know, yeah.
Thank you. Absolutely. He is life, because that's the common thread that you see in everything, from the microorganism to the largest sea creature or whatever, a land creature. The common thread in all of that is life. And for someone to try to make it where it's just, you know, push them down into these little constructs, no, you just reflecting the devil that you watch, you know, that you worship. You know what I'm saying? When you see these people, you know, like us, you know, the pictures I always show, because I'm gonna keep on showing those too every time I bring that up on Off Plantation Radio. People want to say that they care for the kids, but but you got these children out here, they doing these awful and terrible things to these children, and you're gonna try to say that, well, you know, I'm just trying to be like him. You know, ultimately, I'm reflecting God. You ain't reflecting the God I worship. Not with no chopped up arms like that and your busted up penis. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Oh no, I don't know who you worshiping. You look like a misfit toy or something like that. No, looking like Frankenstein, the god of Frankenstein L. I'm serious. But yeah, they do like, yeah, well, it's just crazy. It's crazy. So yes. So when you are, because that is a good question that is often asked of people, you know, well, is he part this and that or whatever? And these are, you know, in the midst of the silliness of everything else, you know, with this whole LGBT thing, this is coming up. And that is how it can be answered, and just having it. And when you are learning about him and who he really is. That's why we said nature will give you all the answers you need, because he put them all out there. It's for us. And he's given us a lifetime to discover it. And once you really take the time and look out there, you really see, man, how can one person just limit him to just these two little constructs? You can't do it. You cannot do it. So